Hello, Nathaniel. This is your dad, and I'm going to record this as a video rather than try to type it all up in a text. The question is, and I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel, and maybe somebody else would like to see it. The question is, how do I feel about a program called A Course in Miracles, ACIM for short, A Course in Miracles. It was a program that was developed by a couple of PhD psychiatrists from Harvard back in the 60s and promoted in the form of a book and then other materials and study guides and so on. It turned into a big program. In the 70s and 80s, it was very popular among sort of the New Age crowd. It's not so much favored today or talked about as much, except in small circles. So what do I think about it? The program purports to be a series of conversations with Jesus, or just Jesus talking into her head, telling her, write these things down. Write down what I'm about to tell you. And she just listened and wrote down whatever Jesus told her, and then published it as a book, and then maybe additional books. I think there may be more than one volume, and 2 or 3 or 4. But the problem with this is that in the Christian and Jewish and Christian faith, and in the way God has revealed Himself historically was always in a very public way. In front of large groups of people, so that the words and the miracles could be verified by hundreds, maybe thousands and thousands of people. Anytime someone says, God told me something in private, we ought to be cautious about that. That's how cults get started. Trust me, Jesus told me the truth, so you can trust me and do what I say because Jesus told me. It's very suspect unless you can do miracles, gigantic, undeniable miracles to verify and vouchsafe the validity, that's a lot of V's, of what you're saying. So, for example, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with temples and the law of God, tablets, and the law of God, and he wrote it down in the Old Testament, he couldn't just say, yeah, he went up and privately spoke with God, but there were miracles. There was thunder and lightning around the mountain. The whole mountain shook with an earthquake. There were tens, hundreds of thousands of people who saw this happening. They also saw the plagues. They saw the miracles that were done at Moses' hand and all that. And if someone tried to write down the law and say, oh, God told me this, and there was not the miracles, then anybody would have said, no, you didn't. You just made that up. Again, in the time of Jesus, the same thing happened. Hundreds, thousands of people witnessed His miracles, and He said, even if you don't believe what I'm saying, believe the miracles. You can't argue against the miracles, and the religious leaders were confounded for that reason. They were like, well, we don't like what He's saying, but how do we explain these miracles He's doing? The same in the first century with the apostles. Even Paul is said to have gone into the desert for 3 years, and that he claims that he was caught up into the 7th heaven or the 3rd heaven, I think, and he saw a revelation. But Paul was able to perform miracles that no one could deny, including raising people from the dead and healing people and stuff like that. So that's why A Course in Miracles, and also this is also why Mormonism is suspect, because the revelations in many of modern 19th and 20th century religious movements come from someone who claims to have had a private revelation from God, and then brings it out and says, you have to do this because God said so, and you just have to take my word for it. And if they don't do miracles to accompany that, then verifiable miracles. I mean, not just like, well, one person saw you do a miracle. Hundreds, thousands of people traditionally have been witness to these miracles to where they could not be denied. Okay, that's a long video. That's 5.5 minutes. Sorry I took so long to explain all that, but I just kind of felt like it was worth saying. If anyone else listens to this, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you think. Otherwise, have a good day.